Cha. Yes, now it should work actually. I didn't change the settings at all, but yes, the active, there's this global and this active, and the global is now sending some audio. I can see it. So is that all right now? Okay, all right, great. So then I start again. Okay. Let's start again. So, always these technical issues. I probably assume that you are hearing me now at this very moment. So what I wanted to say in Swedish is that hej allihopa och välkomna med. Jag talar så lite svenska att så jag byter nu till engelska. Okay. So my name is Hannu Huhtamo, and I'm a light painter and a photographer for Helsinki, Finland. And I'm also an OM System ambassador. And today I will be talking to you about light painting and drawing with light. And there are, of course, various styles to do that. And I will be focusing on my own style, and I will be presenting my workflow. And of course, I will tell you about a little bit about the stories behind my work and how these are done and what kind of tools I use. So maybe we can start the presentation right now. So let's get into it. Okay, so drawing with light, darkness as canvas. That's about it. And here's a little bit of background information about me. And I've been doing this light painting thing like from the 2009. So quite a few years has passed. And I've been, like on the early days, I tried to find my own style, like every photographer or light painter or artist in general try to find their own style. So did I. And it took me quite a few years to find out that what I really want to do with the light and what kind of characters and shapes would be in my own life. So basically that was it. And I'm a musician. So basically this photographing thing and visual arts came a bit later on when I was maybe a little bit over 30s, but it got me hooked really tightly because it was so addictive to do these light paintings like almost every night. I just couldn't live without it, and it kind of changed my life completely, if you could say so. As I mentioned already, later on, I started working also with OM System. It was back in the days, of course, Olympus. And we did collaborations together since they have amazing technology for us light painters and night photographers. So it was pretty obvious that we could work out something together and make nice pictures with the technology they have. And here is a few of my website and also my Instagram account. Just in case if you haven't seen those before this. Yes, let's continue. First of all, now I would like to show you one short clip, like a video clip, that what I do. This is the best way to describe that how the light painting is done. And this short video clip is shot by my wife, Sanna. And this image came a bit later, and it went quite viral on the internet, and you probably have seen it already, but I will show it to you right now. So just a second, I will activate the video, and there we go. And there it was. This is a picture or work called Serenity. And here it's like a really good example that how my images are built and what kind of techniques I use for it. So, but let's get on. Let's start from the early days. I want to just to show you quickly that what kind of works I did like back in the days. It all started from this image. This is I could say my very first light painting image that I did. And I did it in our home during the night. I had this really bright RGB LED kind of hose. And I wanted to play around with it and see what kind of trails it would leave into the air. And I came with this kind of outcome. And if you look on the left side of the image, you can see my shadow or my silhouette over there. So I think it's pretty nice picture for a first light painting. Oh, of course, I did lots of versions of it, and this came out the best. So, but yeah, this is how it started. And a little bit later, like I think it was on 2010, I found out that I could also draw by using like two hands, like on simultaneously. So then I will get this kind of like a symmetric shapes, because I was really inspired by the nature, of course, and all this kind of symmetric shapes that you can find from the nature. And I was thinking that how it could be possible to do such shapes like with the lights and just by using my own hands. And then I just tried and practiced, and I did a series of this kind of my first light flower series actually. And it was a really good winter back then. There was lots of snow, and I really liked how the lights, reflect from the snow surface. It gives this kind of like a magical glow to the surroundings as well. So that really got me into it. So, and later on, it developed on this kind of direction. And like I mentioned, that I live in Helsinki, which we have our share of light pollution, of course. But then I was thinking that maybe I could use the light pollution and all those kind of dirty colors, brownish, yellowish colors. Maybe I could use them somehow, like as a background, like on the image. So and I chose to use the same kind of pinkish and purple type of colors, like over the yellowish and brownish background. And I think it gave something special to the image. And as you can see, there are lots of snow, and there must be some maybe 1 meter or 1.5 meters. So it was a bit time consuming to go into the center of the image, like without leaving any traces to the snow. So I did a few versions of this. So that's how my light flower series of images went further on, and it got developed into something a bit like else. But back in the days, I also loved to explore old houses and like factory buildings, do a little bit like urban exploration. And then I figure out that maybe I want to create something that looks like a light painted statue. So I use quite a lot of L wire, which is its full name is elektroluminiscent wire, and it's really dim. But the good thing is that you can bend it like on various different shapes, and then when you bend it, it will leave a different kinds of trail in the air. So that was really nice way to study that, how I can develop my own way in the further, and find out that what would be the limits for that. This image is called Bright Ambassadors, and it's taken in a factory, like inside this old abandoned factory, and there is this bright spot in the center, and that is not sun, it's just this kind of like a factory lamp or something really bright. But I wanted to create an illusion that it's like a morning time, and the light just fills in. So this was also, for my point of view and for myself, it was like a remarkable change in my style, just to find out that what I could do with the different kinds of tools. And this luminescent wire is something that I use frequently, and nowadays I have switched into optical fiber. But I will talk about the tools a bit later, but this is just to show you all that how my work developed into the shape what it's like in today. So let's get into the workflow. Just a few words about light painting in general before we get into the workflow. Some of you probably know what light painting is and have tried it already, and you know the camera settings and all the techniques behind it. But for those that don't know about light painting that much, you can roughly divide it like in 3 different ways to do light painting. Since it's based on long exposure times, so when you put your camera on a tripod and keep it steady like there, and you find a dark location, you can use different kinds of light sources as brushes or pencils and do light drawing or some kind of abstract light shapes. And that's like the basic idea behind it. So when I talk about light painting, it could mean, like I mentioned, 3 different things. It can be also that the camera is on a tripod, like I said already, and then you are moving the lights in front of the camera. Or then it could be like a vice versa, so that you are keeping your position, or it can be anything that like emits light and it just stands still, but you are moving your camera to make the trails. So that could be also one way to do it. And then the third version is, I presume that many know it, because it's a technique that night photographers use quite often actually. So that is that you use the handheld light sources to light up the surroundings of the images. So basically, when you're shooting, for example, like astrophotography, you can use those light sources to light up the foreground a bit, so you can reveal that if there are some interesting looking objects, maybe like trees or stones or some rock formations, etc. So those are the 3 ways to do it. But yeah, let's get on now. So about the workflow a bit. Like with every artist and every photographer, it's always start from some kind of inspiration to do something. So I had the same thing, of course. And like I mentioned, my main inspiration comes from the nature. I really like those organic shapes and I like to study them and try to like mimic all those forms like with my own light tools. And of course, like beside like the visual inspiration, it could be also books, interesting books or movies or musical pieces, like whatever. You can use almost anything that you find interesting. So that's my way to do it also. But after the inspiration part, it goes directly to sketching, because of course, you can just start the camera and start the light painting at the same time. So it doesn't matter. It can sometimes go like that also. But nowadays, I like to do a little bit more like a preparation for my images. I use just pieces of paper and pencils, and I just try to sketch out like a little bit some lines and shapes, that how should I move my hands or my wrists or anything. And when I kind of get that basic form and shape, and after that I just try it with my camera and my light tools. Because also when I just mentioned that you can use those different kinds of light sources as brushes or pencils, it means that all these different light sources can leave a different kind of trail or texture of light. And that is really interesting. It also makes the light painting to stand out more if it's just not like one single line, like against the back, like a black background. So that's something to also to explore. And I will be showing some options that I use to create those different kind of textures. So it's all about selecting also the light tools that you can maintain the main shape that you want to create. So after that, it comes to the test shots, of course. I try to imitate all the sketches, and I think the hardest part, if I have something really detailed and something that requires quite a lot of preparation and practicing, and it will take some time to, if I have just like a really small piece of paper, to turn that into a bit more like a bigger movements. So that will take some time, and but now like what I've done this over maybe 15 years now, so it will get done in some day, and you will find your own like a physics and your own like limitations that what you can do with your hand movements. So it's pretty much like a muscle memory, if you could say so. But after the sketches and choosing the light tools, I will break the form into pieces, because it's easier if it has lots of details. It has something going on the right and something going on the left and something in the middle. Then I have to practice each part separately. At least I try to do it, because then the whole movement comes like into a choreographic movements. So, and then I try to memorize that how I will use my right hand or my left hand, and how I can move in that space or location to create different kinds of shapes. And it's like a dancing with the light. I use that phrase quite often, because you have to create short choreographic movements to keep the shape like in the middle. And it also helps you to navigate like in the dark location where you are. So you can memorize that I was there, then I can go a little bit like on the back, on the center, and then move on the other direction and come back. And the shape itself doesn't get broken. And after practicing the movements and the hand motion, then I will go to the location. I usually seek the locations, of course, a little bit beforehand, like every photographer usually do, and then I try to go there, maybe do some test shots and figure out what kind of light shape would be good for that location. And then I just start shooting. And usually one image, it doesn't take that long to create when I'm like doing the final version. Of course, it might be like several takes. It usually maybe 10 or 20 takes at least for one like image. But the exposure times are not that long, maybe starting from 2 minutes to 15 minutes. It depends on how much there are details, and do I have to light up all the locations on the foreground, or if there is some kind of a forest, for example, then I have to light up the trees. I have to move a bit around the image to get the perfect exposure for it. So it depends really much that what kind of image I want to create. Is it pitch black or a little bit dim or something like that? But that's my basic workflow, how it usually goes. And now a little bit to the drawing board section. So I want to show a couple of examples that what I had in mind, like beforehand. I did some sketches and like designs on the paper. And this image came out like this. So of course, it changes a bit, but I tried to imitate those curves and those shapes like the best I can. And then, of course, I get easily like carried out to do something else also. But that's also part of the game, and I think it's really fun to maybe like improvise a bit. If you find something interesting, just do it, and I think it's quite okay. And for this image, I want to also mention that how the trees are lit. I usually like that if I do something in the center of the image, then I would like to lit up the background a bit differently. So not like directly from the front, maybe from the both sides, so that it will leave the center of the image a bit darker. And you can see those trees create those kind of like a vertical lines. And I find that's quite like interesting way to do it, and it looks a bit better than just like a direct light in front of the camera. But this is something, it's like a matter of your own taste. You can, of course, try out different kinds of techniques to light up the surroundings, and there are no right or wrong answers. Just experimenting. And like I mentioned, I like to do lots of these organic shapes, flowers, different kinds of plants, because I think it's quite natural for a human to create something that has curves and this kind of flowing motion, not like directly like a mathematically straight lines. Those are usually the hardest ones, because when you're like drawing in a really dark space, you really can't see anything. You can just see the light at how it moves, and you just try to memorize that what was the part that you already drawn, and then which is the part that you need to be doing next. So this is some flower sketches, and it came out like this. And for these images, I just wanted to limit down the colors a bit. I wanted to give this kind of like a monochromatic feeling a bit. Just use like a white LED light to draw those flower shapes, and then do those tiny light, maybe star spots to the ground, and use the red color for the background. And the trees are also light up with the same kind of technique from both sides, from the left and then the right. This image took quite a few tries. I think the background was, I left it a bit too dark, and then it had too many bright spots on it. So I did a couple of versions, and this was the best version of those, at least at my opinion. Okay, and then my next favorite subject, it is about animals, and dogs specifically. We do have a dog also, so it's pretty natural for me to get inspired for those lovely beings. And for this, you can probably see that how the line is drawn. I try to use quite simple lines because light painting is so different. Just first of all, for the reason that you can't see what you are drawing. Of course, you can see it with the OM system cameras. You can see it from the screen at the same time. But still, while I'm drawing, I don't have the time to see the screen like all the time, because I get easily like disturbed about it, and then the drawing falls apart and it won't look good. So you just have to memorize all the movements and like get the idea that how big the drawing would be. So then the simplicity is really important, and I also use this kind of one line technique for drawing. First, it sounds a bit hard, but it helps quite a lot for the whole process. Because if you start doing different kind of parts in different parts of the image, then it's harder to keep the drawing like together as a one piece. So the one line technique helps, at least me, to maintain the character that I'm drawing. And this image came out like this. I wanted to add the second, this should be foxes. I don't know, somebody sees that there are dogs or wolves or something, but it doesn't matter. At least to me, they are foxes. But yeah, this I used two different kinds of tools. A little bit wider, this kind of lightsaber looking acrylic rod to make those thicker lines on the both sides of the image. And then on the center, I used this a little bit smaller yellowish LED light to draw those characters. And here again, I want to emphasize that sometimes it's not that important that you go into some kind of really glorious location that you can seek for hours, or you just fly really far away from your home country to see that really magical place. You can use what you got. You can use your own backyard or the nearby forest, and that's really important because when you're operating in the dark areas, you have the choice that you can choose what you will light up from the surroundings. You can consider it as a black canvas, and you can light up, bits and pieces from here and there, and left something out like completely from the image. It's I think that's something that really makes the image to stand out and have something original in it. So like this, for example, the background it's like it's not that special. Just have two like a bit older and dry trees and some branches sticking out from the But when you do the lighting, then it changes the places completely. And about the foreground in this image, those LED lights doesn't produce that much light. So I have to do some light painting to the foreground to give that kind of like a yellow colored glow to the ground. So that is basically like an illusion that you create also with the light painting. Like it's also with the characters itself. If you look like in a straight from the camera, you can look straight forward. Then the illusion works. You can do the drawing. But if you look like the image and the drawing process from another perspective, you go on the side, then it doesn't look the same at all. So basically you have to choose your angle and try to create the illusion there. Yes, let's get forward. And here are another example of birds. Those are also my favorite subject. Here's the sketch and here's the outcome. This again, I used 2 different kinds of tools for it. And now, speaking about the tools, I also have this image and I can show you a little bit closer what kind of tools I use to create these drawings. But I just wanted to share this image so that you can see that there's like nothing that expensive, which is really great that you don't have to spend so much money to get, really high quality and kind of like a really special and technical equipment to create law drawings. These days, there are lots of options, at least quite a few compared to the days when I began drawing. There weren't any web shops that you can buy light painting tools. You have to build them like all by yourself. So that's the way I like to do it. Like today, I use really simple tools, just flashlights, mainly different kinds of flashlights. And then I put something in front of it, maybe some colored gel and different kinds of light modifiers. So that's also one part of my thing to keep it really simple. And you can use almost anything that emits light and different kinds of reflective materials, like old Christmas decoration. For example, you can tune it up a bit, and then you can use battery-operated party lights, those lightsabers also. I think those are pretty useful and cheap tools. But now I switch a bit to the different image to show you a little bit closer. So here is my main tool. This is optic fiber. I think it's 5 millimeters thick. And this is a little bit different than the usual optic fiber, since it also glows like all around. The light doesn't just come like from this tip of the fiber, it just glows like all around of the wire. So I have this this kind of adapter. It's made out of rubber, and this is this is something that is done with the 3D printer to fit into this hole. And here I do have this kind of colored filter inside of this rubber adapter. I put it in, and then I put it here, and then I have this set of different kinds of flashlights. Flashlights when they are used with the fiber optics, they should be really powerful. So basically, tactical flashlights that has maybe 1,500 lumens or more, 2,000 lumens are really good for it. So it gives this kind of nice glow. Now there is some light here. Maybe I switch off the light for a second to show it better, like this. Yeah. So this is one tool I use. Then, of course, I have a light pen. It's made out of RGB LED. It has in a tip of it, and you can change the color with the remote. This is really useful. I use this quite a lot to make those drawings. And then a little bit different kind of optic fiber, this one, and this is something that you can create those brush strokes with light. So this is quite nice also. So you can control it like this to create those smooth sweeps of light. It gives really nice texture to the light painting. So those are the main tools. And then I have a huge variation of this kind of really cheap LED keychain LED lights. These are pretty useful. So that's about my tools. We can move forward. And a little bit about the drawing technique that I use. I try to use my own body symmetry because that helps me to navigate on those dark locations. And then I try to keep the center spot always locked. I have like my other foot always locked into the center. Then I can move on both sides and do some drawings on there. And then I can return back to the center and also on the left side as well, or front or on the back. It's, I think for my kind of technique, it's really crucial that I won't lose the center spot, because if I get carried a little bit too far away from that center spot, then I think the image usually falls apart quite easily, because I can't remember where I did these kind of shapes and that. So it helps me. And those, if you can read those marking the crucial spots, with that sentence, I mean that when you are spending time in a dark location, after a while, you begin to see the surroundings. You guys can see a little bit some shapes, maybe some trees or branches or stones, whatever that you have on the surroundings. Then you can use those as marking spots, if you could use that word. It helps you to navigate. You can use that, for example, branch there is like maybe 1 meter away from you. You can go towards it and draw something and go back. And then you remember that I have already used that part of the image. I can't draw anything on that part. And then I try to find another branch or a stone or something and do more drawing on that sector of the image. So basically, that's how I navigate, and that's how I try to keep the drawing as a whole. Yes, let's get forward. And a little bit more about the tools that I use. Like I mentioned, I use OM System cameras. And pretty much the main reason why I switched from the other brands to Olympus and afterwards, of course, to the OM System is the live composite feature. Some of you probably already know what the live composite feature is, but I just listed few sentences here that like what it's all about. When you saw that video clip that where I was drawing that swan characters, you probably saw the camera screen at the same time. So it can record the movement of light almost like in real time. So that helps quite a lot if you're trying to figure out that what it will look like. If you can't see the screen at the same time, maybe you can draw something and go to your camera and see the screen that, okay, this will come out nicely. I can continue drawing. Or then you can also see like right away that the drawing is not that good. So you have to start all over again. So it really helps me to, get my things done. So Live Composite itself is a unique long exposure feature in OM System cameras. Usually when you use like different kinds of DSLR cameras or other like a mirrorless brands, the basic long exposure is that it's just like one single exposure. It can be a few minutes or seconds or maybe even hours. but it's just one exposure. But this live composite does it a bit differently. It takes multiple exposures and then combines them into one single image that comes out as a raw file or a JPEG as you like it. And that prevents, of course, overexposed images, because you can do light painting a little bit on brighter locations also, like on cities, for example, or then you can include maybe a sunset to the image and get that nice glow and the beautiful colors on the clouds. You can include those as well to the image, and it doesn't get overexposed. That's the main thing, for at least for me, because I use quite dim light sources. So then I have to raise up the ISO and like the overall sensitivity to the light. And if I do that kind of settings, like in a really bright conditions, it just don't work. So that is the main reason why the live composite for me is a really, really good tool. And yes, you can choose the base exposure, which gives you like the first exposure that you can see that, okay, it will look like this. And you can choose between half seconds and increase it to a 60 seconds if you like. But the half second is something that is almost like a real time, that you can see the light trails like a building up. So if you have a chance to try it out, please try it, because it will change your life. At least it changed my way to create these light painted images. Okay, but now a bit more of the images itself, what I've done. Light flowers and luminous beings. These are my main series. It's ongoing series all the time. I try to develop it and make different kinds of species of light flowers. This is done like in a Namib desert. And for this image, I wanted to include the star rays. And the live composite is really good tool also for astrophotography. If you want to capture like the stars that leave the star like a vortex on the sky, you can use it really, really well on there, because you can see it almost on real time, that how the stars will leave the trail behind them. So I wanted to use the star trails in this image as rain, like in a really dry location, and it will rain some light down to earth, and it will make the light flowers bloom. That kind of a basic idea behind this image. And a bit more, different kinds of colors. For the light flowers, this image is done also with this optic fiber, because it bends and I can change the shape like in real time to give a bit different forms and shapes to it. And let's see, here is different kinds of light flower in a snowy location. And about the snow, like I mentioned, it gives this really nice glow also for the light sources, but you can also see the texture like on the snow surface. That's something really special that I want to capture also. And some reflections as well, different kinds of like a diamond looking small spot reflections. Those are really interesting too. And a bit more this kind of deep sea creature feeling on it. There's a series of these that I've done also. And here you can see the optic fiber and also some small LED lights that I use to create those more detailed parts of the image. And the center part, if you could say the eye of this creature, this is done with some kind of Christmas decoration lamp. It cost maybe €1 or something, but it's a really good for this kind of pictures. And here is another shape. This is actually made like it's a custom custom-made piece for a Finnish electro jazz group called Rinne Radio. Some of you may have heard it, but this is their album cover. The album is called Balladium, and the Balladium name gave me an inspiration that it had to be something really ethereal, and it has to have some warm colors and maybe something about love, or then something about loneliness as well. So I came up with this kind of outcome. And also a bit on the seaside locations, I wanted to include the waves, like a little bit on showing some light to give that motion included. And also there is some nice reflections on the rocks. This is something I try to achieve like quite often if I have the possibility. And here are some more flowers. As you can see, the light, the really bright lights, they like reveal the surface quite well, so you can see all the nice textures and those shadows and shapes on the rocks. That is something I really love to do. And here is some animal figures. This is also from Namib Desert, and the location itself was so dry that there weren't any cheetahs or lions or that kind of animals. So I wanted to create a series of images that I will be doing the animals with the light. And I came up this kind of a one line drawing also starts from the other part of the image and goes into the center. And then I wanted to include some stars as well. And here are a couple of oryxes. There's some species like a antelope species. And this also, I used the two different kinds of tools. This is this acrylic wand that I use quite often to give this little bit thicker lines, and then the animals itself. And some lions here as well. And here is the Serenity image that has the two swans on it. And this again is done with the optical fiber and with a small keychain lid. And here's the fox image. I just rushed through these because you have already seen it and the time is running up. And here is some kind of a dog shape. And I wanted to include this image because, like I mentioned, that you don't have to have a really special location all the time. This is just, you can create like the background by just lighting up the different shapes, like on different corners or angles. So then you have the like the ability to use different kinds of colors for different sections of the image and create something like abstract shapes. So, and leave the center part a bit darker so you can see the light drawing a bit better. And some bird characters. Also quite a regular forest location, but then I wanted to divide the background with two colors to give some turquoise and purple. So it will create some nice combination of colors, at least in my opinion. And some birds here. I did this image when I had maybe 38 degrees of fever, but I wanted to get out. I was, lying down in the sofa quite a few days, like in a very high fever. And then when I get a little bit better, I wanted to go out to get some fresh air and maybe do some light painting, of course. And here I tried to include the Milky Way. This is something I wanted to include just because combining astrophotography and light painting, it's really tricky, because if you're using like really wide lenses, still you don't have that much time if you want to maintain the stars as like a spotlight. Because if it goes like maybe over 25 seconds or maybe 30 seconds, then the star trails start to appear and it doesn't look that good. But this is the best I could do, like maybe in 35 seconds or something. Just draw the characters and then light up the rocks. And this image is called Bear With Me. A small wordplay and really simple lines to create. I always wanted to create the whole bear with the light, but it is really difficult to draw. So I just try to narrow it down a bit to maybe to get the head parts of the bears. And there's a snowy background over there. And the sea creatures, more abstract looking characters. These are inspired by, I watched this kind of a documentary about the deep sea creatures that are like a self-illuminating. And they look quite like a light painted form. So I just wanted to create something similar. They're not like accurate animals or accurate species at all, but something just like from my head. I just tried to take some shapes from the real animals and then combine it with my own like imagination. This is kind of like a jellyfish type of character. And this could be some kind of space shrimp or something. And a little bit more. As here on the center spot, you can see the Christmas decoration lamp that I used, and also this kind of that you put on a Christmas tree. This kind of like aluminium type of decoration. And here's one more. A little bit more about also the commercial and how you can use light painting also like to do different kinds of projects, because you can do your own series of images, but then again you can find your own way to use it to create illustrations for your clients. And I've had the honor to have a few customers that are really get into the light painting scene, and they have loved to combine the light art with their brand or something. And this is one of the projects that I did with the Honda, the car company, the Summer Nights campaign. Here's a light painted car, because first of all, they wanted me to draw the whole car with light, and I was okay, this ain't gonna be easy task. And so I did my version and my suggestion that maybe we just do the car like the highlight parts like only, to keep it as simple as possible, to get the basic shape, like the essential shape of each car, and then light painted it and combine it with different kinds of backgrounds, like a city background and something in nature, like in a forest location as well. So I came up with this kind of series. Here's a different model. I don't know what is the right word for this kind of, if you have seen those car photos, it's like a high key photo or something that only like reveals the basic shape of the car. I tried to like mimic that kind of look with the drawings. And here's a third example like that. And some portraits. Light painting is a really good good solution also to create interesting looking portraits. Here is something that I created for a Finnish artist. She wanted this kind of like a sorcery or magical type of world. And we took quite a few options, and I think this was the best capture of those. And then this is some private customer that just wanted to have a portrait for her girlfriend. And so they came to my studio and we created a series of photos, and I just picked this to show you how it will look. And this is for a theater group, or actually circus theater group that had this play called Chevalier, and it's something about horses also included. So they wanted this horse character to be included. So I created this, and this was their like a promo picture for the whole play. And here's a Finnish artist, bass player, composer Kalle Ylitalo, who did his solo album called Expansion. And the expansion gave me the idea of expanding your mind or your consciousness. So I came up with this kind of idea. And some other album covers as well. So there are lots of options that you can use this technique, and it's always a unique way to create something, because you yourself are creating it with your own hands, not the AI, not the 3D modeling software or something. It is a little bit different. It's like handicrafted piece of art. Hey, that's about it. If we have a few minutes for the questions, if there are any, I'm not sure, because I just got actually few questions beforehand, and I try to answer them right now. I was asked that what kind of tools I use. Obviously, I actually showed them to you already. Different kinds of light, like flashlights. Those are the core tools that you can modify by using these colored filters on it, or some other light modifiers in front of the lamp. So those are quite cheap and pretty useful. And then also I was asked that, is it really expensive? That do I have to have really expensive gear to do light painting? And the answer is no. You don't have to have really expensive gear. Basically, you can start with your cell phone. There are lots of different kinds of apps that are made for long exposure photography. So you can start with those. You have a tripod, small tripod, and the camera and the app, and then you are good to go. But later on, of course, you get more demanding. You want better image quality. You want to have like a better control over the camera settings. Then I recommend to get your first DSLR or mirrorless camera. It doesn't matter. It can be also a film camera. You can use it also. And then I was asked that how long each image, how long it takes to be done. Usually, like I mentioned, it starts from a couple of minutes, and then you can expand it depending how much you have details on it. It can go to maybe half an hour or 50 minutes or something like that. Usually mine are below 10 minutes or 10 minutes. Oh, now I'm getting lots of more questions. Okay, when do you do lots of spots like that? How do you keep flares away? Is it optics or flashlights? Really good question. Also, different lenses react differently. When I try to create those star-shaped, really bright spots, it's good to raise a bit your aperture may be f 6.3 or maybe 8 or something to get those star-shaped spots. That's one way to do it. But it's all about like experimenting that what kind of gear you are using, it depends. But like really bright LED lights can cause quite a lot of flares, and sometimes you want it and sometimes you don't. How do you train to get movements so close to your sketches? Well, like I explained and showed, it's all about my own like body movement. I create this really simple choreographic movements that I can memorize, and I just try to repeat it. I just practice it and practice it as long as I can remember it. But then if you're doing these shapes, it will just take some time, but then you just figure out that when you put your lights like on this position, it will leave a certain type of trail. So that is just, you just need time. And then you have some kind of a selection of movements in your mind that you can use and you can like memorize them. So pretty much that's it. And next question. How do you work with your focusing on the camera to get the shapes sharp? Well, then again, it comes to the movement. It's about all the muscle memory, and when I move the light tool, I know that what kind of trail it will leave and which angle I should hold it to get a certain shape. So it's pretty much repeat. In live composer, you mean live composite feature. In live composite feature, how many exposures do you do for one images? Well, I'm not counting it. There is a counter that counts all the exposures, but it's all about like mathematics. If you leave it for maybe 10 minutes, so and you choose the base exposure to be half a second, so it will take the half an hour time, all those half second exposures on that time, and so long that you will put off the camera and then you have the final image there. So I don't count them. The camera does it. The amazing swan picture in the beginning, was the reflection in water naturally, or did you paint the reflection? Good question. It's all natural. It's a natural reflection of the lights that I use. I didn't do anything on the surface. It's just, it was really, there was no wind. The water surface was really calm. So it gave me this pretty nice looking, a bit wavy looking reflection of the swans. And that's all natural. Nothing is added. And the last question, I'm guessing you use a flash to freeze them when you do portraits. Do they move out of the frame or how you keep them from appearing ghosted or blurry? Good question. If I have light painting workshops, or maybe I'm doing live events for clients that have lots of different people coming to my workshop, and I will do the portraits, I might use flashes, because if there are lots of people and the time is limited, I have to be really fast. Just flash the people so that they freeze into the image, and then I do my light painting parts all around the people. But in some cases, I try to use just the flashlights. And the one picture that I showed you with the girl in the image that I've done something around, it's all lit with the flashlight. And there are different kinds of techniques that I use to light up the person so that the bright part of the lamp can't be seen in the image, because you have to cover it a bit so not to show the bright spot at all. But it depends on the situation. If I'm in a hurry, I have to do lots of portraits in a really limited time, then I will be using flashes, because it's far more easier to do it like that. Okay, the time is flying. It's already 6 minutes over the deadline, but if I'm online still, so if you have a few questions, and you can also send them afterwards, and I will at least try to answer them if there's something special. But if it's nothing more, on my behalf, I say huge thanks for you to participate this live event, and thank you for watching, and hope you are also trying out some light painting. Maybe not tonight, but maybe tomorrow. Thank you.